To start recording. So welcome everyone. This is the first Q&A that we're doing before we actually screen the movie. We're actually doing this in August. But we've announced that the New Jersey Film Festival for the fall 2020 season will be virtual. And the university normally would be where we were running the Q&A, which is at Rutgers University in New Brunswick, New Jersey. It's the large state university for New Jersey, and they decided they were not going to hold any events on campus this semester, which means now that we have to do this virtually. So we wanted to make sure that our patrons still had access to the talent, to directors, and to the cast and crew. So we're setting up a number of these Q&As with films that are participating in the New Jersey Film Festival. So I want to welcome you guys. This is the cast, the main cast for the wonderful feature film Turtle Island, which is directed by Orko Mukherjee. And we have, please help me with your pronunciation, Hannah Marijon? Marijon, and Lani Cataldi.
Lani, yeah, Lani.
Lani Cataldi, and Curtis Caldwell.
That's right.
Welcome, welcome. Now, folks, if you want to get information about this wonderful film, which we'll tell you more about in a little while, it's going to be taking place on Saturday, October 17th. And you can get information at our normal website, which is over yonder, which is njfilmfest.com. But as you'll see, that when you get to the fall 2020 schedule page, it will tell you to click on another link, which will send you to our Eventive site, which we'll do screen share towards the end of the Q&A so I can show you how that's done. But you can buy tickets in advance, and you can get a taste of the film watching their trailer. There'll eventually be Orko's introduction available as well on our social media pages. And then, of course, this Q&A will be added as an added incentive for people to watch the film. So it will be taking place on Saturday, October 17th, and it's video on demand, which means you can start watching the movie at 12:01, literally 1 minute after midnight on the 17th, and you'll have 24 hours to watch the movie once you start. So let's say you start watching it at 11:45 in the evening on that Saturday, you'll have till Sunday at 11:45 to finish watching it. So hopefully that'll be an added incentive to get people from all over. So Orko, you're from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania?
I'm from India, Kolkata,
Yes,
but I now live in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Right, and where do you guys live? Hannah, where do you live?
I'm like an hour from Philly in the Reading area.
Cool, so Bucks County, I'm very familiar. Yes, I have friends at Albright College.
Oh, okay.
They run a film program there, and I love Gary Albright. He's a really wonderful guy. I'm not sure if he's still teaching. I have a feeling he's retired already, but I haven't talked to him in a few years. Lani, where are you from?
I'm from Verona, which, sorry about my dog, which is a suburb of Pittsburgh.
No kidding, great. And Curtis, you're from around the same area as well?
Yeah, I just recently moved in the past year to Pittsburgh, and this was actually my first film that I was involved in since moving. But now I've settled into a house, no longer in an apartment in the past month. So settled in Pittsburgh.
It must be difficult to move around during COVID. It's not easy.
Oh, yeah, we actually had our eyes on a place and couldn't get into it until after the quarantine was over. I mean, we looked at a house online, saw it, and then they just said, hey, all of the terms have changed. You can't walk into it anymore until this is over. So we had a pause button on it.
But I think at the same time, you can get all of your friends to watch yourself online when we show the film. I know you've screened the film a few times already, but is this going to be the first time it's going to be screened virtually?
Yeah, we haven't screened the film yet officially. I mean, there has been a couple of private screenings. Yeah, but this is, I think I'm waiting for a couple more festivals. They haven't announced their decision yet, but I think New Jersey Film Festival is going to be the first official screening.
Wonderful. So a world premiere, that's even better.
Yes.
We have a number of those, and we're very proud to be able to do that. And the jury really, really loved the film, and they felt that it was made with a lot of love and a lot of passion. And that's what we're always looking for. We're not looking for the really slick Hollywood films. We have an amazing jury of between 15 and 20 people that range everywhere from college students to academics like myself. And it goes through a pretty intense jurying process. You have to make it through 2 rounds, and in order for your film to make it into the public screenings. And we received so many films for this festival that it was really difficult to select a lot of film. There were a lot of wonderful films that I actually re-invited to submit to our spring festival, because the New Jersey Film Festival is actually biannual. So anyway, on Saturday, October 17th, there's 2 short films that also deal with the relationship between mothers and their children. And since the relationship between Lani and Hannah, even though Hannah, you're an orphan in the film, your character Irene is an orphan, Lani is the mother figure. So you'll see the 2 short films pair very nicely with them. And the first one is called A Single Mom, and that's by Farad Ali and Payman Sohaili. They're from Toronto, Canada. And then the other short film is by Clayton Combe. He's from Tappan, New York, and it's called Iron Right. And it's about a mother from the 1950s protecting her child against an abusive father. So it's a really nice pairing. One of my claims to fame is the curation of the festival, because my job is I don't get to see all the movies when they're submitted. The jury really hands me these films, and I have to try to find a home for them. And I thought those 2 short films will pair very nicely with yours. So Orko, since you're the brainchild of this film, the writer, the director, and the producer, why don't you tell us about this film? Give us an overview, a synopsis.
Again, this is my first film, and thank you for accepting that. Thank you for New Jersey Film Festival and you and to all the juries for accepting our little child in this such a beautiful film festival. We are really honored and privileged. So Turtle Island is basically a journey about Irene's life. I won't give a spoiler or tell you much about the story, but it's about Irene, who is an orphan teen. She loses her mother, and then she gets raised by a person of a golden heart, Andrea, who's from indigenous origin. She lives in a countryside farm alone, and helps a lot of people. She raises Irene when her mother passes away. And then this story goes, or the story tells Irene's life, the people she meets, and the crowd she gets along and falls for the wrong crowd, right? And gets in trouble. And then how she comes back and taking inspiration from Andrea, from her life experiences, and how she comes out as a better human being. I think that's the overall essence of the story.
Yes, it's definitely a coming of age tale. And I like the way you use flashbacks to tell the story, because we actually jump in right when she decides to become bad. Irene runs out to meet Curtis, who's going to take her away, and you think it's for love, but of course other things take place. And so it's a key moment that the film begins, and it's very mysterious, because I really like the dark lighting at the beginning of the film, and I liked how you're really not sure what you're going to see. But then we see Irene as this accomplished writer in a series of shots that we see as she's making her way to tell her story on the stage. Now, can you tell me where this film was shot? Where did you guys end up using? What locations did you use?
We mostly shot in and around Pittsburgh. So, I mean, most of these locations are either from friends or family or friends of family, right? So the farm that we shot, it's basically a farm of our producer, James Helfrich. His wife, Patty, it's her uncle's farm. So that's in East Brady, I think about 1 hour from Pittsburgh.
Right, great.
The cabin, that beautiful cabin that you saw,
Yeah.
I'm not sure if know or not, but that's Lani's cabin. That's where Lani lives.
Wow.
That's his house. We just barged into her
Yeah, I
house.
love that. I like the DIY approach, you know. I always like to tell my students a lot of famous films were shot in the maker's abode, and other people that he was, like John Frankenheimer uses his own house in Malibu for the film Seconds that he made in the 60s. So I think you got to use what you can, and you need to, you know, like I said, this film was made with a lot of love, and it shows. So
Yes,
tell me
and
how,
a lot of
I'm
sorry,
sorry,
a
go
lot
ahead.
of support from the other people as well. I mean, many of our friends and family came forward without money, for free, let us shoot there. And then without their help, I mean, this wouldn't have been really possible. And especially because Lani is here now, just one I wanted to mention that for those cabin scenes, we had one other place booked that was in Cook Forest, but that really looked like a vacation home, right? Not a place where someone would leave.
Yeah.
And then when I came to know Lani and we met in a coffee shop, then Lani actually proposed me that, see, I live in a 18th century log cabin.
Wow.
Why don't you come and see it yourself? I think you can shoot there. So Lani is basically godsend. So she acted in our film. She is the Andrea. She did music for our film, and we shot in her cabin.
That was going to be one of my questions. Do you really play the flute in the film?
Actually, no.
No.
I wish if I had more time, I would learn it, because I play harp and keyboard, and I compose. I have a music studio in my house, and I compose a lot of music. But that's one thing that I don't play. And yeah, if we had more time, I would have really taken pains to learn it, because I would love to.
But it's nice because I can even recognize your cabin just from the shot that I see behind you. That's very cool. I love that.
It worked out beautifully because it's all decorated Native American, and it just, it was perfect for the film. So
yeah, definitely. And was Lani the first person you contracted, Orko, for the film?
No, we contracted. I think we contracted Hannah first. She because since Irene is the central character, right? We requested everyone to come for the audition on the same day. But then based on our preference, we reached out whether they are available or not. So the first person who said yes, the first person who we reached out to was Hannah, and then she said yes, then Curtis, and then Lani.
So did you have an audition process, Hannah? Did you have to audition for the role?
Yeah, so the first audition was a self-tape. So I sent in a self-tape online, and then I had a callback in Pittsburgh. So I spent the entire day driving. I drove to Pittsburgh for 4 hours, had my 15-minute audition, and then drove 4 hours home. So it was a busy day, but it was worth it.
Yeah, and I think you definitely are the star of the film too, so it's worthwhile. So are you acting in other films as well? Is this your entree into the quote-unquote business?
I've done a few other projects, but lately it's been really slow. I only really started acting last year, so this was like my first big project. And then the pandemic happened, and
yeah, everything
slowed down.
Yeah, but it'll come back. I'm sure it will. Yeah. So how did Curtis get involved? How did you get involved, Curtis?
Yeah, I did a self-tape as well. I remember, I actually remember quite vividly, because as you can tell in the film, I've got an accent. And in the first self-tape, I remember in the writing, it had the word y'all in it. So I actually, for my self-tape, I think I remember rehearsing it as a Southern accent at first. But then the more that I started reading it, when I got further along in the process for the callback and everything, I remember that it started to just sound Irish to me. I'm a fourth Irish. Maybe that's part of it. I was wanting it to be Irish, but it was something that I was really happy to discover, because Arca said that he was looking for an accent, but he wasn't really buttoning down which accent he was really looking for. And so when he found my Irish, we adjusted a couple of things, but he really liked that, and so that's what we went with.
That was probably also the appeal for Irene, because he was not from the neck of the woods, and she wanted to get out. She wanted to get the hell out of there, but she realized that her roots were where she was originally from. So it's really very much an odyssey of sorts, where you kind of come back, which is really beautiful without giving anything away. So I wanted to also ask Orko about the cinematography, since it's so beautiful. I really like the little detail shots of nature, which I think really enhance the organic nature of the film. Can you tell us about the DP?
Yes. So his name is Ian Altenbar. He was the director of photography for Turtle Island. He was brought on board by, again, our producer, James Selfridge. He's a good friend of his. I think if I'm not wrong, he's a freelancer, and as well as he teaches in a non-profit school or non-profit organization called Steeltown Entertainment Project. They are based in Pittsburgh, and they teach teens, mostly teens, the basics or fundamentals of filmmaking. So Yan is a teacher over there, and he does freelancing as well. So yeah, that's how we got in touch. We, believe me or not, we fought a lot, but I think that's normal.
Yeah.
and it's worth it. I mean, he had a vision. After reading the script, he had a vision, and I also had some sort of pre-visualization in my mind how it's going to look like. So it was a matter of coming to a middle ground where he thinks is how it should be, and where I think where I wanted to reach. So I think we exchanged ideas, we fought, and we smiled and we laughed, and we became great friends now. I mean, yeah.
Film production, film is like a family, you know, and you end up arguing with your family just like you do when you're involved with people that you work with for an extended period of time, which leads me to my next question. How long did this whole project take?
We only actually shot on weekends because all of us, I think most of us, have a day job, right? I think Hannah had a job. Lani has a day job. I think Curtis was also doing some projects in parallel, and I have a day job as well. So most of us have something or the other to do on the weekdays. So we actually started around mid-August to shoot, and then we ended around end of October, or no, early November. 3rd November was our last day of shoot.
Wow. So Hannah, did you have to go back and forth from?
Yep.
Crazy. So every weekend you would go, or every
other weekend? Drive 4 hours, but I had friends there, and Lani would let me stay there every once in a while when we would shoot there. So it was fine. It was fine.
What were some of the things that you remember most from your project, Curtis? We'll go around the crew. The cast.
The thing I most remember. You know, I remember the coffee house scene quite a bit, actually, getting in there. I don't know if you guys remember that being kind of a struggle on set, but we were supposed to actually shoot in the interior of that coffee house, and they were still serving customers and everything, and so that was starting to get loud. And then someone pointed out that there was you know, current music going on, and that's not going to fit well with the 90s theme that we're going for. So we kind of had to, you know, think on our feet, I guess. And they had a nice little section out there outside. But I remember the problem with that, though, was that it was that coffee house is right on an intersection, and there's also a firehouse, fire station that was right there too. So we had a lot of interruptions that day, and a lot of sound to work around. So Chauncey had a lot of work to do, definitely.
I think that's when you're working on a project and there's the unforeseeable, but sometimes that helps. It makes you rethink your project, just like what ended up happening for you guys. But you know, you don't get that sense. It's actually quite quiet, the actual scene that you ended up in the movie. It worked out pretty well. What about you, Lani?
So the whole film was so special to me. This was actually like on my bucket list, was to play a Native American character, because I have Native American ancestry, and since I was a little kid, I loved watching westerns and anything that had to do with the Native American culture. I really felt very close to, and just the whole film had, as you mentioned, had such a family feel to it, which is a big part of the Native American culture too. I loved that they filmed here at my cabin, because I just felt so at home with everything about it. I wore mostly my own clothes. Almost all my costumes were just clothes I have. I loved how Ian, he made the cabin, you were mentioning his cinematography, and my outside so beautiful. It's just magical to me. So it was, the whole experience was just fantastic.
I guess magical is a perfect word too. And I really didn't know that, I didn't know that Turtle Island was a reference to what Native Americans called North America or the world. And that was also a revelation to me as I kind of researched more what I wanted to ask you guys. And I think, and then I noticed the actual poster, the turtle is meant to be the continent, which is really cool.
The other
What
thing
about,
I think,
I'm sorry, Lane.
no, the other thing I just wanted to add is I just think the timing of this film is just so appropriate right now because of all the immigration issues and, you know, what had happened with the Native Americans, their land being taken away, and just all of this, all of the racial issues we're going through now. I think it's just an important film that shows, you know, how important it is to love and not to fear.
Yes, and I think some of the judges actually pointed that out. And I think our jury is made up of all different types of people, but ultimately I select all of them. And I think that I want to make sure that we get perspectives from all sides, but we're a humanist festival and we want to celebrate man and all the good that he's done, not the bad. So, and I think that was one of the things that some of the jurors had mentioned to me, that it was very timely. So what about for you, Hannah?
Obviously, I loved working on this film every single day we were shooting, but I specifically remember the first day we filmed was the running away scene through the field. And we didn't know there were thorns in the field.
Oh my gosh.
So I ran through that field and I had scratches all over my legs that were bleeding, and I have a photo of it. It's terrible, but it was so worth it.
The things you do for art.
I know, but I loved it. It was great.
Well, you were all wonderful, and it was it's a really wonderful film that everybody should see. Again, it's going to be taking place on the 17th of October, and it will be available for 24 hours. And folks want to get access to more information, they can go to njfilmfest.com. You can call that phone number, but we don't pick it up that much anymore since we're not there. I do all the answering of the messages and stuff. Our festival is just like your film. It's a labor of love. I've been doing the festival for 39 years, and I have a wonderful group of interns. They're all students who do the festival for credit. So I do the administrative stuff. They usually do the actual screenings themselves, but since we're doing everything virtual now, I'm trying to hook them up to do some of the Q&As with some of the other participants. So we're trying to figure out a way to get them more involved as well. Although they're the ones that keep me sane. I think when you're working on any project like any film, you need to have a really good support crew. And I think we mirror the film production as well as exhibition. So it's very much the same. So I want to thank all of you for participating in this, our very first Q&A. And I'll be sharing it with you once we've, I don't know if I'm going to clean it up or show it as is, probably be very raw, but I think it's meant to be organic, just like your movie. So folks, don't miss Turtle Island. I want to thank you all for joining us today, and I look forward to maybe meeting you down the road. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you too. Take care.